So in this session, we're going to talk about images, both in Photoshop and Illustrator. And our idea is to bring an image in the back of our cover. Now, I need to explain to you quite a few things about images. Now, if you don't have Photoshop or Illustrator, or you don't know it, don't worry. We'll just show you what they are actually used for in the workflow between InDesign, Photoshop, and Illustrator. As mentioned in the Creative Cloud session, we call them the big three. They are the most crucial programs to know for graphic design, and I would advise you to get to know all three of them, because they each have their speciality. That, in the big workflow, we use InDesign as the main program for our layout and our animation and our interactivity. But we go to Photoshop to edit our photos, and we go to Illustrator to create icons and for instance, infographics and flat artwork. Now, the principle behind images, if I were just to do a straight search on Google, and I have some background images here, you would have noticed if we click on an image, Google gives you these numbers at the bottom of the image. So what are they? Those numbers is the amount of pixels on the image. If I were to open it in Photoshop, and I were to zoom right into this image, you'll notice if I zoom far enough, it's just a bunch of dots, and each dot has one color. So if I zoom back, I see a nice, crisp, high-res photo. So the number of pixels over here is the number of those dots. So that says that this image has nearly 4,000 dots across the width and about 2,800 across the height. So it's a very nice high-res image, and it can be used quite big in our design. This one, for instance, is very small, 640 by 450. So that won't translate well in our design. How do you know how big an image can be used? We'll get to that in a moment. Now, guys, obviously, if it's for commercial use, don't go and use Google Images. You will get caught. So, as mentioned in the Creative Cloud session, there is the stock.adobe.com site. That's stock.adobe.com, where you can download royalty-free images. So we can do a search here for takedown, and it returns all the shots it has for takedown. There's a very cool function as well inside of Adobe Stock, where if we want something similar to this, but not quite this, we click on this little icon that says Find Similar, and it returns photos that is similar to that one. Look at that. Get all these nice shots. Now, these images are very high resolution. So if we click on an image, we can again see those amount of dots. So it shows us under the photo, it's 6,000 by 4,000. Fantastic. So this would be a nice big image that we can use. It doesn't show you in centimeters or millimeters how big it can be used. We have to ask Photoshop how big it can be used. Again, if you don't have Photoshop, don't stress too much. I'm going to show you in InDesign how you can determine the resolution as well. So our whole goal here is to get images in a high enough resolution, because in our case, it's going to be a print publication. Now, you can also, if you don't have a budget to buy images, you can use a site called unsplash.com. And if we do search here, they've got some beautiful stuff. The thing with Unsplash is you have to credit the photographer. So if we were to use this image, then somewhere in my design, I have to mention the photographer. Okay, so you can download images for free here. It may be great for practice. Also, I remember I've given you all of your images in your course files folder. So under chapter 1, you have the links folder, and there's some nice images that we will use for our document. Now, when you download these files, they are normally in JPEG format. So images is either JPEG or it could be PNG. Okay, more on those formats later. Now imagine I were to open this photo in Photoshop. I want to know, can this be used on an A5 cover? So in Photoshop, I go to image and I go to image size, and it says to me the image resolution currently is 300. And in millimeters, that would mean it can be used 70 centimeters by 47 centimeters. So it's really big. But if I used it on 72 dpi, it would print very pixelated. This is very, very important. If you're working with print resolution, that resolution has to be between 200 and 300 dpi. dpi and ppi is the same. It means pixels per inch. It's those dots. So think of it this way. If there was 72 dots by 72 dots in a square inch, what would happen to the image if all of a sudden there's 300 of those dots by 300 of those dots? Would the image get bigger or would it get smaller? Take a guess. Would it get bigger or would it get smaller? The thought process would be, oh, it's going to get bigger. No, because remember, those dots are crushing together to give a high resolution. So obviously the image will get smaller. Look at the size over here. If I now change it to 300, sorry, just resample on. So I make it 300. Now that image can only be used 16 centimeters by 11 centimeters roughly. So we've just made a high-res version of that image. Now we can click OK. And sometimes that's all that we use Photoshop for. We edit the photo slightly, maybe change the contrast and so on, but we make sure that the image is in a high resolution before we take it to InDesign. The other thing we sometimes do in Photoshop is just go to image mode and change this to CMYK. So when we're changing it to CMYK, we're changing it from digital color to print color. And I will explain RGB and CMYK and these things to you later on. Now, we just made those subtle changes in Photoshop. So now we can go to File and save out the document again, wherever it was, and just overwrite that file. Okay, now that file, that image is ready to be used in InDesign. Okay, now, when we place it in InDesign, a couple of other things become quite important. So this is a really, really crucial part for you to understand. So I want you to practice this quite a lot. Images is placed with the frame tool. We have the rectangle, the ellipse, and the polygon. Now I'm going to do rectangle frame first. I'm going to do it over here and just pull that frame in. And now it's ready for an image. This box that we created is what we call the crop box for the image. It's the outside border. We could be placing an image in there that's way bigger or, more landscape or more portrait. But this becomes the container box. So with that box selected, we go File, Place, because we want to place an outside image into it. And we're going to take that same image, let's click down Clifton, and we open it. And it places the image in there. But you can see the image is way bigger in the box, and it's quite blurred. So there's a preview mode in InDesign under View menu that says Display Performance, and you'll see it's just going to save memory as you work. So I always keep it in high quality display, and now we can see the image bigger. Your second step, always, when you've placed the image, right click, Fitting, and full frame proportionately. Always. You always use that option first. Don't use these other ones. They're going to do disproportionately. We want to just see how much of that image we can fit in. And there we go. And now it fits nicely in the box. Now here's the kicker. The black arrow moves the box around. But the white arrow goes to the content of the box. And notice that brown border. It's telling you that there is more content that doesn't fit in that frame. So if we pull the white arrow, we can tell it which part of the image to show. Can you see now, if we move it slightly into full, look at my blue border. It's now not filling the box. So we can pull it back to fit the box. We can, for instance, hold shift. Maybe we want to put more focus on this tree. So we're trying to make the size or the scale of the image bigger in that box. We can hold shift and pull these handles to increase the size. Now we're holding shift so that it's proportionate. Otherwise, what would happen is we do this, and we're crushing our photo in the box. You can also, with the white arrow with the image selected, go up to your property bar, and it tells us it's on 11% magnification. We can make it 20, and it does it. If this little lock is locked, it does it proportionately. And we can pick and drag to show the area we want to show. Okay, so practice that. It's probably the most important thing you'll have to understand. Now, I'm going to do another one. Drag the box, and we place the image into the box. Remember our first step? Right click, fitting, fit frame proportionately. And voila, we have our image. We can take the white arrow and we can maneuver the image around in the block. Now, crucial to understand. When we place images inside InDesign, in a document, it does not embed the image in the document. So when you save this file and you send it to somebody else and they open the document, they're not going to have the image. So when you send the InDesign document, you have to send all the accompanying images with it. They're separate files. And I'll show you how to package your document. But just remember for now that this image is linked to the outside file, wherever it was on your computer. And this is where the links panel come in. If we go to window links, I'm going to pull this out for a moment. This is the links panel. And it's telling us quite a little bit of information on the image inside the box. It's telling us firstly the name of the file. It gives us the little one where you can jump to where that image is. Okay? Then underneath it, if you can't see this info, just pull this box bigger or smaller. And you can also use this little menu can't be found for the information. It tells me, again, the name. Then it says to me the color space is RGB. So if this is a print document, red light should flicker for you now and say, oh, it should be CMYK color, because that's your print color. RGB is for digital document. If this is simply a social media image or a little booklet that will be published online, we can keep it RGB. It tells me the size of the file. And then the most important part is it says the dimensions of the document is 2000 by 1334. Remember those dots? It's telling me how many dots there are across the width and the height of the document. It's also telling me the actual PPI, pixels per inch, same as DPI, is 72. So that's a low resolution image. But the effective PPI, remember how big this image was, and then we told it to crush into this box. So that whole process I did in Photoshop to resize it, InDesign is actually doing for you. And it's saying the effective PPI, when this image was crushed into the box, is almost 700. We said it should be over 300. So fantastic. That's enough. So you always check this. Before we go to print again, later on when we do the PDF, we'll check this. You'll make sure that our DPI is high enough. So just remember that you can see it from this panel. Something else to understand is if you move files around your computer, like for instance, we had the links over here, and we linked to the image files, and now I decide to move it to a different folder. InDesign will say to you, where's that file? So it gives you a little yellow triangle here. And it means you've moved the file, so you'll have to relink the file from one of these options. There's your relink, and tell it where that file is. If you linking to a file that doesn't exist anymore in the folder at all, you get the red question mark. And it says to you, where's the file? So you'll have to relink that again. If you go and change the content of a photo, maybe you've opened it in Photoshop and you've changed the contrast slightly, it will also give you the yellow triangle, and you'll have to go and relink. Okay, so remember the links panel, crucial. Go place images, go try download images from the web, and then bring them into the box, check them under the links. Is the resolution high enough? So with that said, let's finally bring our cover image in here. So I'm making a rectangle all across the page, all the way to the bottom of the page. Notice that I'm pulling it all the way to the bleed line. Why? Because it goes to the edge. We have to extend it to the bleed line. If you didn't extend it properly, take your black arrow, make the box big up to that red line. Now we can go and find our image, and the image I'm using, if you want to use the same one, is General CTT Images CTT Signature Photo. We've got table mount and that mount in the back, and we've got the cliffs on the side. It's showing you a preview. And I can open that image. And it fits part of the image in there. It's now in front of all our content, because remember, the arrangement of boxes is last one created this, last one on the front. And we'll see that it doesn't fill the box properly. So we right click again, always your first step, and say full frame proportionately. And there's our cover shot. But there was two characters over here, so we want to bring both in. So remember my white arrow? Now I can click on the image and drag that brown border across to fit the exact area I want. Notice that you'll have to keep just checking here whether it fills the top and the bottom of the box. We can still zoom in. We can use these commands to make it bigger or smaller. Now we go back to the back arrow. Click off everything and click on our little image box. Why? Because we want to move this image to the back behind all our text and that mask state we created earlier. So which one would we use? Object, arrange. Can we say send backwards? No, because then it's just one level backwards. Send to back is all the way to the back, and there's our other boxes of content that we created earlier. Now it gets a bit busy down here. So what you can also do is flip an image. And the flip command is always here. Flip vertically or flip horizontally when you're on the black arrow. You can't see it. Remember, black arrow is your best friend. Now let's flip it horizontally. It will jump out, no problem. But now it's a mirror version of that image. And this is already a lot better. You know, now it looks towards the content, and we can always put a white screen behind those strap lines. Just be wary. When you flip photos, the content of the photo changes to a mirror version. So if there was, for instance, text on a t-shirt or text on your image, it will now be the wrong way around. If somebody was married and you could see their ring finger, they'll now be divorced. So in the case, if you know where Cape Town is, you'll now see that we flipped the mountain, which is completely wrong. Okay, but in this case, we will use it. Now, a couple more things we quickly want to do here. This is not readable. So how about we put a white block behind it, and we make that block transparent? So we haven't introduced you to this tool. This is the vector tool, the shape tool. And we're going to go and create a rectangle. So we click the rectangle, we drag it all the way down to the bleed line because we want it to look like it's kind of bleeding off the page. And here's my block. Same goes for coloring it. Remember this little trick? Full color, outline color. See how they swap? So the top one is a full color, we make it paper color. And the bottom one, we don't need an outline there, we make it none. Now, how would I move this box behind all my strap lines and in front of the image? I could go object, arrange, send backwards, send backwards, send backwards, send backwards. But instead of doing that, why not just send it all the way to the back? And then go back and say, bring one level forward. Then it's in front of the background image, and behind all of the text over here. So great, that's great. And then my transparency, remember I showed you that panel with effects? There's my opacity. Let's drop it to 80%. That way,
We
can still see
the image behind it.
much
Better.
much
Better.
And the last thing we want to do, have it selected with a black arrow. We go Object, Corner Options. And we give, see that corner, that little blue dot is showing you which corner will be affected. If this is locked, then it means all the sides will be affected. So I'm breaking that lock, because we only want a rounded corner on the left top. And we tell it, there's the corners, we want it rounded, and we want a 10 millimeter radius rounded. That looks nice. Okay, just round off the design. And if we go to preview, there you go. Give yourself a hand. You've just created your first cover. Now, the same principle, think about it logically. We could have created a poster like this. We could have created a Facebook image. We could have created a pull-up bag, a business card. The principle stays the same. Okay, once you understand these boxes and working with their content, that's exactly how you would create any kind of a design in InDesign. Right, so that was a long session, but when we get back, we will dive into the inside 2 pages and continue exploring how to control content. I'll see you soon.